Hello, everyone! Welcome to one more episode of Talking Times. I'm very excited because today I will use my douchebag haircut for the first time. Okay, and guys, I am very excited actually because we're gonna talk about studying English for academic purpose. I'm here today with Humberto Barros. He's very nice. You're gonna love him. And let's start this right after our podcast intro. Hello, Humberto. Welcome, man.
Hello, everybody. Can I introduce myself?
Of course, just go.
So, I am Humberto Barros, a Portuguese and an English teacher, okay? And in my free time, I am a gamer too, and a musician. I'm not a professional musician, I just play my my guitar, okay? I
Nice.
am I'm from Brasilia, but I live all my life here in Goiânia, where I used to teach at times, Jones.
Nice. Okay, that's a lot of stuff too, man. You're gonna get me sidetracked. But okay, you mentioned, and I see a lot of references there. Are you somehow like something like a geek too, Bert?
Oh yeah, I play a tons of games, man. My notebook or a laptop are full of academic stuff on one side and games on other. So
Yeah.
I use it both of them.
Okay, like Thanos would say, it's perfect balance. That's
Perfect
fine.
balance, yes.
Yeah, and I cannot not say something about the Lord of the Ring poster. Do you share Tolkien's passion for languages too?
Well, Tolkien was a linguistic, and
Exactly.
of course, I am a big fan of him. I think I saw all the documentaries about language. I love the way he made things, and he studied a lot of cultures, like I do. So, Lord of the Rings is part of my life too, of course.
Nice. So I can see the influence there, man. That's nice. And before we go to the main topic here, Humberto, why languages, man? How did this passion started in your life?
Well, I think I'm good with people. So one thing came to another. I'm kidding. I wanted to be a journalist or to work with excavations like Lara Croft or Spider-Man. So
Nice.
when I saw I couldn't do those things, I turned to the literature. So I went to make letras, and then I became a teacher. And I still work with people. So I think I am a teacher because I'm good with people.
Oh, that's nice. Well, in a way, books can make us travel a lot too. So your passion for adventure, at least you can satisfy it with some good reading.
Yeah, no. And to tell you the truth, there is no class like another class. So my students are the adventurers. So they
Ah,
make
nice.
me pass for a lot of things.
And about your time as a teacher in time, Humberto, which one did you used to teach?
I used to teach here in Goiânia in times Cidade Jardim
Shout
and
out to you guys.
yes, and times center. I think we had the times in the downtown, and
Hmm.
today we have times in Setor Oeste. This time Setor Oeste is a new one, so I hadn't teacher there. But there are several of my students who go there and met Naira. It's very nice.
Nice. And about the classes you used to teach, did you have a favorite one?
Of course, I love to teach the test lesson 11 about the past or lesson 23, the difficult ones, Mike.
Uh-huh.
I'm kidding. It was
Yeah.
very tough to give those classes, but I miss the classes from book 3 and 4 and 5 because the students were our friends, so we can talk about. Do you know that at times when we have these classrooms, we became very friends and we talk about life, the problems in life. So I miss the most the psychology uh, consult that we had with the students. We all shared feelings and thoughts and problems. Was very nice.
Yeah, this is something that happens a lot. Like because they can do classes in the morning, afternoon, at night, every day if they want to do conversation classes. So after some time, we end up seeing a lot the students there. Like, oh, how is your dog, your cat? Is everything okay? Blah blah blah. But yeah, sometimes we have to be half teachers and half psychologists because ever you do like the most rhetorical question ever, like, oh, is everybody okay? Oh, teacher, you don't know what happened today. And then he shared something like, oh, too much information, but okay. And shifting to the other stuff we're gonna cover today. And when you were an English teacher, Umberto, did you have this academic interested already, or you were focusing on other stuff in your life? How could you conciliate the both things? Because it's very different, right?
Yes, very different. Well, I already knew English when I entered in the college, and there I was trying to research about literature. But in the middle of the course, I became a linguistic person. So I was fascinated about how we acquire language. But to tell you the truth, the question that made me evolve was why there are good teachers and bad teachers. Why some teachers are best than another one. So
That's
I
a
started
very
to think
good
about
question.
that a lot. So I studied about how to treat the students, how to give classes, and how to understand the content to teach them. So it was a turning point for me. So there was where everything began to happen to me.
Man, that's amazing. One thing that I remember, I had I had an introduction of it in one of Claudio's training, on the coordinator's training, when he started talking about linguistic frames, and then like the way we associate images in a universal way, the things that are context depending. And then I said, oh my God, that's very interesting stuff. And I love neuroscience. I really love to study the brain and how it works. The two things that got stuck with me was the neuroplasticity, the because I grew up hearing that, well, if you are a kid, it's very easy to learn new language, like easier than adults. And depending on how old you are, it would be a very, very, very uh, it's like an uphill battle, like would be very tough for you. And then studies started showing up that actually the brain can adapt and depends on the stimulus you have. But it's fascinating. And what exactly linguistics study in your field, Humberto?
Well, it's about that, how we acquire a second language. So if you had a way to open the student heads and look how they learn it, it would be very easy. But we don't know how those processes work. We have these things about the a children can learn faster than an adult, but an adult work a lot more than the children. So
Mm-hmm.
we don't have the answer about the neuroplasticity. We only have those things that are if you gave them a bunch of information, he will learn more than if he hasn't known. So when I work with all the ages, so I know that the main difference is the language and the age gap. Like I am today, I am 34 years old. I am very old, but I
Oh, come
kept
on.
thinking,
I'm going
yeah,
to be 39 in a few weeks, man. You are fine,
well, thank you.
the peak
So
of the youth.
yeah, like that. And so I keep thinking, what my student is doing right now that I'm working, what he's watching, what he's listening. So I try to understand their work to work with that. In applied linguistics, we study all the methods and all the approaches and theories to that exists in the past and today to teach English. And one thing I learned that is that the teacher is not the responsible for the teaching. So we tend to be very responsible. Like it depends on me, it depends of the student, but depends of several things. Like if he's okay that day, if he has problem
Mm,
that day, if he is open for that, if he has a or he or she has like he likes English or not.
mm-hmm.
And I think it's our responsibility as a teacher, at times, of course, to understand our students, to see what is their interesting, So when you are talking about things they like, they tend to be more open. So
Mm,
people are very complex, and they all of them have a different objective with the language. So when you understand why they are learning English, things get better. So I'm gonna let you know here because I don't have a receipt of the best way.
Nah, but
Each one is a different person. So this is what we learned there. We can use the methods and theories as weapons that I will use. Like in one class, I can use the four methods to give this. And you talking about Claudio Vasconcelos, when I look at Time's book, I saw, oh, he's using several of the methodologies here, and he is giving the student free will to understand things. And I like this thing. I said, I want to work for Times. And then I went to the interview, like, I want to work here. No, I like the book.
Man, that's it's a good way to start. But I don't want to forget you watching us in the chat. Don't let me forget. You don't have to answer now, Brett. What's the difference of a good and a bad teacher? But
Okay.
something that you said that is very interesting. A lot of egocentric teachers are gonna frown like, what you're saying is not my responsibility. But it's true. It's an ego thing. Like there are studies, for example. I don't know if they applied this to learning, but it would be interesting. But they have studies like these. You if you are watching these guys, you can find the reference in a book called Behave from Robert Sapolsky, or the Behavioral Biology from Stanford. The whole course is on YouTube. There is one of the chapters about behavior and why some people are bigots, some people are open, some people are like have a lot of prejudice. They make this study that they put people in a room to ask questions about, oh, what do you think about like immigrants? What do you think about this or that, or this style of music, and like a variation of topics. But with part of the group, they put a strong smell of garbage. You know, the people that were subjects to this smell of garbage, it activated a part of the brain that is responsible for like repulsiveness, and is more active in people that have a higher level of prejudice. Is like, for example, you see somebody from a different culture. If you are a person with like a high level of prejudice, it's the same area that will activate when you smell garbage. It's crazy. Turns out, like the people that were smelling that, like even if they were open people, the answers were more inclined to something like, "Oh, I don't like what is different," you know. So let's say the person is not an English fan, for example, and on the way to school, this is very random, okay, but I have a point. On the way to school, there was a truck in front of the student's car. So when he arrives there in the class, you know, this area of the brain was highly activated. And then the teacher thinks it's his fault. He's gonna have a harder time learning, you know. Another thing, Umberto, when you mentioned there, if you talk about something that the students like, this is like my favorite thing to do here in the classes that we do. For example, you ask the person's routine. What do you do when you're not working, study? What do you do for fun? And the language becomes a tool to talk about something that the person has a passion already. So you kind of remove that block, like you have to learn these or you need, you know.
I think God chooses the best soldiers. I think he thinks I am a good soldier, and he gives me a lot of challenges. I used it to work for EFG, and there they were giving Spanish classes. So when I arrived and I said, "Oh, it's not going to be Spanish, okay? It's going to be in English." So I had to give classes for four classrooms that would like to make Spanish. They choose Spanish, not English. And I had to make the thing I do. I love to understand how people work. For example, when I give a class about superlative, I said, "Well, it's very easy. You know, you have there Goku Super Saiyajin 1, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So when he becomes Super Saiyan 3, he is stronger. But Goku God is the strongest." And the students say, "Oh, but Naruto, no, don't say about Naruto, okay? Only Superman could fight Goku, and you know Goku would win." So I like those kinds of arguments, you know. So I like to be interested about the new series. For example, the doramas that are there. So I have to watch
Ah,
them to have opinion about them. So I think we have to do that. We have to understand what they like and talk, because what we are going to make with the language?
mhm.
Argue, to make our point of view, to disagree, to agree. So I try to show them that the language is not only a tool. The language is your scent, is your way, is your soul. So you are using to understand people better, and I want to understand you, Mike. I think people are very interested.
Yeah, and this is amazing because the moment you do this in a class, that's it. All the prejudice, all the barriers, they're gone. Especially if you end up, this would be me, but I am a devil in the class sometimes. I'll say, and of course, Saitama would one hit KO everybody because he's a gag character and he's the strongest. And then people, no, never. And then they start. That was
That's
me.
why he's not mentioned.
Exactly. Nice. What about teaching in you have experience teaching like English language in public schools, right? Is it very different, Humberto? How was the experience in terms of
Well,
method, students, and
it's very different because they always put the English class. I don't know, in the third period, like you are going to have the free time. They are thinking about the
mm,
free time and not about the classes, or the last class of the day, and you have one class per week, and then you have 14 students. But I took as a challenge, and I used to give here in the public schools. I gave classes for the children, and I remember one time the coordinator walks in my room, in my
mhm,
classroom. I was there in an airport. It was not my classroom; it was an airport. They made a passport for me, and I was comparing their drawings to their faces to let them pass for the from in the airport area there. And the coordinator entered and said, "Well, you have to respect the line. Can you see here, the students? You have your passport." So I made a mess in the school, but I tried to work with them all the time. And it is very difficult because our 40 students, you have like a 10 minutes maximum to explain something to them and try to reach them. So I was like a seller. I had to sell my product in 10 minutes for them and to pass those informations for them. So to teach, this is another thing that's very interesting. All the theories you have, the English theories you have, they are not for public schools. You
mm,
know, we have teaching theories in Brazil for public schools, like Paulo Freire is already mentioned. So we have theories about teaching, but teaching English we don't have. So it's very
mhm,
challenging to do that, and this is very difficult because the reality, like you said about the garbage can, you have a classroom that's very hot. Many of the children don't have support in their houses, so
mhm.
it's a work that you have to reach each one of them. So it's very challenging and consuming, life consuming a lot. I had to work on my Saturdays and Sundays all the periods.
You need to really love teaching
Really
to
like
be
this.
part of the public school system here. Sometimes it can be something very I say silly, but because it looks silly, but it's actually deeper than that. But the colors of the classroom can interfere in the students' moods, you know.
The lights,
The lights as well.
the,
Yeah.
the white light, they can't pay attention because the light is very the fluorescent light. You
Hmm.
know about that. You are a marketing. You study marketing, so you know what light
Yeah.
better to has.
We studied this about restaurants, you know. You can stimulate or block customers' appetite using the colors of the walls. You know, it's going to reflect on the food and it influences too. Uh, which method, Humberto, would you say is the best one for public schools? Because when you have this scenario, like sometimes kids or teenagers, I can only think of PBL, for example, because you can play games. You can. There is a question very interesting here from Ricardo about storytelling, but right, one moment, Ricardo, I'm gonna ask him. But which one would you recommend? Because or there's not only one because of the variables that you mentioned.
Yes, we have to understand the classroom first. I like to say that we don't give classes. You know that we
Mm.
don't give classes. We negotiate the class with the student. But when you have 40 terrorists. I'm kidding. When you have 40 children trying to argue with you, you are the minority. So you have to be a
Yeah.
very good negotiate person. So I like to say, Mike, that I don't have a method, but I like to say that my work there is to make them fall in love for English and try another time because I can't teach them all the. If I take a class for 3 years, okay, I can make they understand the basic things there. But my only goal there is to make them fall in love about English and try to make an English course because this will help them in the future. But as you and me, when we were children in the public school, we remember that many of the people, many of our colleagues, they were afraid because they couldn't understand. So there we have tons of adults that are afraid. So I try
Hmm.
to make them understand, and today is very easy because we have tons of games that we can talk about, and they tend to say, "Oh, I'm interested about it." So I use music. I made playlists with them to sing, and the playlist was about interactions, about romance, and they couldn't think high school life, you know. So I
Hmm.
try to use those tools to make them interesting because I'm not naive. I know that I can't change the public system with one class, but I can make them more interesting to pursue an English course in the future. Many of them, they reach me in another time and they say, "Well, can you tell me which English course I could do?" So I tend to help them a lot with that.
Cling. Can you
Yes,
recommend me a school? Yes, we can.
yes, we have time.
All right, Ricardo Augusto here. Shout out to you, man. He asked a very interesting question, Berto. Teacher Ricardo from Cambuí here, from one Tolkien fan to another. Oh, Tolkien. How can storytelling be used effectively in teaching?
Well, I think it can be used all the time. I use storytelling about everything. Like once I remember, I made a contest in the school, and children like to win candies and stuff like that. And
Hmm.
I said, well, if you win this contest, we win the best prize. Everybody will want to know about that. And I draw
You went like Michael Scott. You're gonna have a surprise.
a surprise. And I wrote, I draw a banana in a paper. And when I show him the paper, he said, and I said, hold on, nobody knows about that. You are going to be the most popular student because only you know what is in this paper. Make a smile now and said, "Oh my gosh!" And he made it, and everybody was very curious, and he kept the secret for 3 days. Everybody, what did he win? For? Only he knows. Only he knows what he did. So I use storytelling a lot. I like to tell bad jokes. Of course, we are good in
Mhm.
bad jokes,
Yeah.
and I
Oh,
try to make things very very interesting for the student. I like to tell scary stories. I can tell
mhm.
you one.
No, that's nice. I want to hear. Yeah. One thing that I see you doing there, I don't know if it's intentional or not. You let me know. But one thing that I know is very effective is, for example, you are teaching some new topics. It's a new structure or vocab. Let's say the cliche one, the verbs in the past. And then you insert this new information in the student's head by doing a link with something that has a long-term memory in his brain. So, for example, if we are teaching the verbs in the past, I say, "Oh, did you see the new Deadpool movie?" No, didn't. I didn't saw teacher. I didn't see. Okay. So you're already teaching the grammar, but actually we're talking about the Deadpool movie, if he has seen it or not. And then you say, "Oh, when was the last time you went to the cinema or to the movies?" And then I notice how much is effective it is. When you do like this. Is the reason people remember 146 Pokemons, but they don't remember the chemistry periodic table
146
there.
more. It's 400 today. I'm
I guess this is the first generation. Okay, if there is some Pokemon fan, don't get angry with me.
well. Yeah, this is true. I use a lot of. I like to use facial expressions because I studied about that. So I tend to exaggerate my movement, but not so because it would be annoying. But the one thing I use the most is Quando eu falo em português, the same way I talk in English. I don't have a different accent. Eu não estou usando um accent diferente. Então, my English variation é goiano. I talk exactly the same way eu falo em português. Então, when I look at the students, they never know if I'm going to falar em português or I'm going to talk in English with them. So, this is interesting because they know that I'm talking to
You are
them and
poking
they
my
know
brain
me.
when you do this. It's nice because
Like that.
the brain starts to scan the things there. It's very
Yes, well,
interesting.
this
That's
is one
very
thing I
interesting.
like to do.
Nice, man. Okay, you were talking to me about teaching English. It's not exactly teaching English, but you were doing the welcoming immigrants. Can you tell us a bit about this work, man?
Oh, yes.
That was very interesting.
Today I'm working in Prefeitura de Goiânia here, and in here I am I entered as an English teacher, but then they found me in the school making a lot of fuss, and they called me to work in a teacher training area. So I train teacher here, and it's interesting because I don't give English classes anymore, but I still work with the language. One of the things I use is Goiânia is receiving not only Goiânia. You are in Campinas now, yeah?
Yeah,
I like to say that Campinas is very similar to Goiânia. We have tons of trees here. And
very hot
Brazil,
city.
Brazil is receiving a lot of immigrants because it's a good country. This is the
Mhm.
reality. And when I am very preoccupied about how they are going to be received in the school. So I help making guideline books. I make e-books or physical books, and I gave to the schools, and for the school staff knows how to receive these children. So for I was talking to Mike before we start here, and I was explaining to him that, for example, we have children from Afghanistan. If you are going to receive them, you shouldn't treat their culture like a curiosity thing. Like, oh, I know that there you eat all kinds of things. You eat dog like that. People love to say that. You eat dog there like that. No, so I make them to respect another culture. And when it's about the language, we don't force language to people. It's an interchange thing. So we learn with them and they learn with us, and we can receive them here because they have rights. I don't know if you know that, but you as a citizen of the world, you have the rights of education in another country. So, for example, I use a lot I like to use materials from Canada because they know how to receive people and how to integrate them in the society. So this is my work. I make guidelines to receive immigrants here in a respectful way so they can have a better life here in Goiânia and in
No,
Brazil, I can say.
that's very noble and beautiful. Do you directly deal with some of the students too?
Some of the times I'm called to conferences and I have to meet them. I was talking to Mike that I went to a Afghanistan meeting, and
Man.
when I was there and I entered there, they said, "Oh, he's like us." And I said, "No, no, Afghanistan. I know I look like, but." And the sheikh come to me and he hold my hand and speak with me with. I don't know the Afghanistan language, sorry, but I had to to say no, sorry, I'm Brazilian, but I know I look like.
Man,
So this
it
kind of
was
thing
like
helps.
a shake, like a real shake.
I was a real sheikh shaking my hand.
Man, shaking your hand. Nice pun. Man, you should have. I don't know. Imagine you. This would be nice. It's a real man thing. You have this diverse group of friends that you have, like teenager, like old man that loves to play truco at the square, a
Yes.
shake, MMA fighter. You know, like this. Very diverse group. Yeah, that would be badass, man. Oh, here's my friend, the Shake. You know.
Yes,
Uh,
I know a lot of yes. I used to teach. It's very different, to give classes to children, but the difficult one is you, the adult. Yes,
yeah.
because you know that is you because you are very preoccupied with things. Don't worry, you have to relax more, just enjoy the things, because when they arrive at school, they are thinking about politics, economy, and oh my car there, the price of the gas. So we try to
Hmm.
make them relax. To no, no, you are learning. Let's talk about your problems in English. like that.
Yeah, that's actually an effective strategy, because if the people needs to unload, it can actually be something productive. But this something you said there that is good for all the school and teachers. The setting where the class happens, it has to be comfortable. So
Mhm.
if it's an online class, the environment has to be like without a lot of no sound pollution, external noise, and this type of stuff, a good internet connection. If it's a presential class, it has to be comfortable, good light, no garbage smell, please. Yeah, it has to be a good setting. And you how many different countries or immigrants you have worked, like you mentioned, you worked with indigenous people, people from Venezuela. You mentioned to me Afghanis, right?
Afghanistan, people from Haiti,
Mm-hmm,
Venezuelan are the most ones here in Guyana. So we have
mm-hmm,
to work with the UFG and Católica here, the colleges here, because we make an integrated work. So I'm always going. I have to go to IFG, to UEG, que is the Universidade Estadual Federal here in Goiânia, to make a connected work, because it's not only a municipal problem. No, yes, it's the municipal problem, but the
mm-hmm.
universities are here helping us. So we have a tons of teachers and researchers and people who are good in what they are doing to help those people, because it's not just to teach English, it's to give all the assistance they need. They need housing, they need work. So it's very difficult. But we have today the most challenging one is the Warao. They are indigenous people from Venezuela and Brazil too, and they are
Mm-hmm.
not stationary. They walk all the Brazil. So it's very difficult to offer them a place to study, because our school system, they are very solidified. Yes, we have the classroom there. The classroom cannot go to another place. Today they are beginning to make online class in some public schools, so it's very difficult, the challenge. But we tried. Yes, it's our. We are Brazilians.
How
We don't
do
give up.
they? What's the impression you have, Humberto, of how those people see the country and Brazilians? Do they feel
Well,
welcome? They feel like we are people with prejudice, or we actually receive them with open arms? What's the average of how they feel?
in general, they like a lot Brazil, because we are very welcome, but we have the problem with racism. Yes, if you
Hmm.
have, for example, African immigrant, they will suffer the racism black people suffer here in Brazil. And if you have
Hmm.
Ukrainian person here in Brazil, they will be most welcome. And sometimes we have people that are PhD engineering. In Afghanistan too, we had a lot of people with PhD that was in their original country someone very important in the government, and here they are treated like someone else, anyone else. So we have the racial pressures that are here is existence, and this tend to be a problem for everybody, not just only immigrants. And we try to this is we are talking about human rights. So this is my
Hmm.
work. I work with human rights. We try to use like anti-racism actions to help them, not only them but our society. But in general, they like us a lot, because we Brazilians are nice people.
Hmm.
Of course, we have the bad ones. We know that.
No,
But one
everywhere,
thing,
yeah.
yeah, but one thing is interesting. My work is not with the children, because they learn very fast.
Mm.
So the children and the teenagers, they know how to speak Portuguese Brazilian, and we tend to help their parents. It's interesting, yes, because the children are very easy to to absorb our culture.
That's very interesting, and I have the impression that children are more welcoming to different kids than adults, because they don't have all the baggage. So when you have a group of kids and is a very diverse group, soon enough, if you give them a common goal, like, oh, this, you can play this game, or you have these toys here, you will see them organize. All right, let's do this or let's do that. It's not like, no, you don't play with us because whatever, you know.
Exactly, these children are the best. They solve the global problem, political problem, like that. Hey, do you want to go? Do you want to run? Where? To the tree. So solve it. They are
We are
fantastic
friends now.
people.
We run
We're
together. Yeah.
friends now. No problem.
Nice. We were talking before, Umberto, about a way that we could reduce tribalism and bigotry in this way. Like, am I being too optimistic, or maybe it's possible that language is a tool that we can use to maybe, instead of being something to divide us, could be something that, okay, we can be part of the same tribe. Can we use language to do that?
Yes, for example, we know that we have the British and American variety. But today, English is not owned by the Americans or of the British, because more people speak in English than them. So all the world speak in English. In my case, I think I met a few Americans and British people. All my English that I used was from people from all around the world. So it is a bridge for connection. So I think English is our English now. It's our variations, Brazil English. Of course, we will respect the grammar,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
and Brazilians are very strict person. They are grammar Nazi. You know, we don't like to make
Thank
things
you.
wrong. So I think the language has this potential. Yes, when you appropriate of the language, like I do, igual eu faço, meu inglês is not the British or English variety. But of course, you can use wherever you want. It's a glove, you know. You use English for anything you like in university. It was different to teach English for one course and another, because people had different objectives, and the courses had different objectives.
Yeah, it's interesting because, for example, I have this Frankenstein English because I had teachers, like a lot of Brazilian teachers, and a variety of accents too, you know. So today, sometimes people ask, "Oh, Mike, you speak American English, Brazilian English?" I say, "Oh, I speak this Frankenstein English," you know.
Mike's English is your
Yeah, it's
font, your style.
exactly. It's Mike English, you know.
English.
Yeah, it's like our variation. Something interesting that happened. I saw this on the internet. I thought when you were explaining that, uh, that when you download something or you see some language options, you have Brazilian Portuguese showing more than the Portugal Portuguese nowadays. You know, I
Yeah,
guess.
they are mad about that. They are mad about that because they say, "Oh, it's not." And this is the phenomenon. Brazil, we are. I was reading a news about that today. That was a person said that in the future we are going to call Brazilian and not Portuguese anymore, because we have a ton of videos on YouTube, and children in Portugal love our accent, so they are learning to say like Brazilians do. And many Brazilians are speaking in English in their way, like João
Yeah.
Santana we like to use. So
Oh, I love him. I use him in my classes very
yes,
much.
the truth is we influence a lot. So I
Mhm.
think it's not crazy to think that in the future our variation would be the new variation of English,
Yeah, it's something. If there's something that is alive,
or
there is
Bahia
the language.
variation, or
Yeah, it could be.
Bahia variation. I was seeing about that. That is very popular.
They have an easy time when they're trying the British accent because of the way they talk about work, you know, and everything. The R's are very soft there. Nice. One question from Marcel Humberto. Was it, in general, was it very difficult to teach in public schools?
Well, it was because I knew it that I couldn't give a proper English course, a full English course. And when I entered there, you take a children from, I don't know, sixth grade, and the English is in the school since fourth grade.
Mhm.
and most of the and when you give classes to them, they are like 2 years without English. So when I take a class in the second grade, third grade, and I walk with this student, he will speak eventually. He will, but the main problem is most of the teachers that are concursado here in Goiânia, they are not a verbal teacher, a
It's
speaking
true.
teacher. They only teach translation. This is the main problem. So, and it's difficult because to teach, to speak, you have to listen a lot. And to
Hmm.
listen a lot in a class, like I said, I told you, like this one class per week in difficult times, is not you have a tons of things that doesn't help you. So it's like you are fighting alone. But I use the many things to help them. Like the children, I like to use movies with them and try to teach them tons of vocabulary because I thought, well, if they learn tons of vocabulary, it would be nice. And one of the classes I gave them was Desmistificando Halloween. So I told them,
Ah.
what is the Frankenstein of Halloween? And they, oh my gosh, so it's not about witches. I thought, no, it's not about witches. Halloween is about angels, saints, because it's All Hallows Eve. And it was
Mhm.
very difficult because my school was a religious school. So imagine, I had to talk with the director, with the coordinator. He was in my class in the day of the class. I had to send
No pressure.
yes, I had to send the parents a note explaining what was going to happen. And one thing happened that was very difficult. The first parents reunion, the parents came to me and they complained a lot. You are passing too much vocabulary. You don't know what is happening there. We can't help them. And I said, of course, they can help you. They know what I'm talking about. So the parents were very sad because they couldn't understand.
But you can twist that one around. Like, well, I'm sorry, but your kid is brilliant. So you are not in the same level. You have to
Yes,
study a lot to
it's
be in
normal.
the, yeah, to be on the level of your son and daughter. It's like I am angry and flattered at the same time.
Yes, and the problem we have in Brazil is that the problem begins before the school. Then there are
Hmm.
families, there are difficulties, and the school is not. You know what is a school? School is not only to give classes; it's to support the children. It's a
Yeah.
tons of things. So, but among that chaos, things happen. For example, I don't know if you know that, but Estado de Goiás is the first one, the IDEB. We received this award on Wednesday. On Wednesday, sorry, on Monday, and we are the first one in the IDEB. IDEB is the Índice de Desenvolvimento, né, da Educação. So, but we are giving more Portuguese and mathematics classes. These foreign language classes are very shy, and
Hmm.
so it's very difficult to work with foreign language. But one thing that I think will happen in the future because of this immigration thing going on is that we are going to have more integral schools. And in the morning, they will have the normal classes. In the afternoon, they will have language classes. Because I agree. I don't like to give my English classes in the same way as the Portuguese class, because I give Portuguese classes too. And of course, the main language is the principal, is the one that is the he will use to understand the word. But when you show them that English is a way to expand your voice and your ears and your eyes, you understand more about things. And I try to show them that, for example, I like gossip. Do you like gossip, Michael? Yes, I know. Like when our students come with gossips, I say, "Oh, you don't know? I was listening the English radio, and it's about that. I think you took a translated news." So I like to show them that because I know English, I can see the word better. And when
Hmm.
they understand that, it's like a power. Yes,
Yeah,
we
it
have
is.
more
It is
skills.
definitely.
This is a power. And they tend to understand that, so I can learn things better. So, yes, you can understand people better. Like, Oh, so this is common. Yes, this is common. People do that in now the world. And the one thing I like to show them is that English is not an alien language. For example, have you ever gone to Australia?
No, not yet. But
Or
I
have
wish I could.
I will use a better place. Have you ever gone to Belgium? That we talk about Lord of the Rings.
Mhm.
If you go to Belgium and you need to go to the bathroom, would you understand where you have to go if you need a bathroom?
I like to think yes, because I will look for the door with a sign that
Yes,
indicates, okay, you can do that here.
this is the thing. We are humans. It's the same logic in other places. So even if you don't know how to say, I don't know, Japanese, they will use a door to signalize that this is the bathroom. So when you
Mhm.
understand that things are they equal in another culture, I don't know what I was thinking about. I thought that was another planet. It's not another planet. It was
Yeah, you're
actually
not talking to, I don't know, Volcrons. You're talking to humans. Yeah.
the same
Uh,
thing in other places. Okay, yeah,
nice.
yeah. I know that are different bathrooms, but you understand it.
Yeah, you go to Japan, you will see something on the floor there, depending on the place, but you say, okay, I guess I'm supposed to do my business here. Yeah. And thinking about the way English is taught and used, is it very different when you do this in universities, Umberto? Like going to the topic of our conversation, when it's strictly for academic purposes, what are the main differences there?
Well, it's very different. It all depends of the course.
Mm-hmm.
When I am in an engineering, computer engineering course or a journalism course, is a instrumental thing. So I try to show them how can they use that in their favor and explain. Well, we have only one class two here, and I will try to make you understand how to read and write. I am very uh, serious in those talk with them, and very open about what they will achieve with that. But so I use instrumental English, and when you understand those things, like we were saying about the bathroom is the same. I try to show them that the human language is not so difficult to understand. If you take like if you read you take a text in Kryptonian, no better in Elvish, like Senhor dos
Okay,
Anéis, and there and
nice.
you can read like car, accident, bike, leg, hospital. You can make this logic in your head and you can translate. So I used to give classes like that, showing them that they can this cryptography, I don't know, they code the
Mm-hmm.
language. And I gave them many tools, but there is a very different when you are giving classes to letras, Portuguese, English language course,
Mm-hmm.
because we are forming the professional. So you have to teach how to give classes, the theory behind the classes, why we teach verb to be before of doing this, why in this is this scale, why things work like that. So in Portuguese, in letras Portuguese English is the main challenge one because it's the professional area. So we have linguistics, literature, how to give classes, a bunch of stuff that will form the teacher. But, for example, I used to give classes to foreign trade, comércio exterior.
Mm-hmm.
And there, I had my classes for all night. Once a week, I come there for 7 o'clock to 12 to 10 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
And I had English Comercial 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So I could work with them. And there was very difficult and challenging because I had to understand the foreign trade area, how to trade with other
Mm.
cultures. And it was very interesting because, for example, if I'm going to Brazil, make a lot of trade, national trade, international trade with with China,
Mm-hmm.
and in Dubai too. So they had to write invoices. It's like a it's like to buy something, you have to write an invoice to understand how much we're going to pay for that and how much of the product, things like that, bureaucracy things. And I had to teach them how to be polite with a different culture. So this was the main challenge because they were the Brazil face, you know. So when you're going to change to send an email, be polite like that, but don't be so much polite. You can understand. You have to learn about people culture. You it all depends of how you are going to speak with them. So this was one thing I learned for my master degree. One of the things I it was like 10 years to understand those things. It's not about of what you are saying. It's about how you are saying things.
The intonation makes a lot of difference.
The intonation, the way you talk with people, the words you choose. So, for example, English basic, intermediary, and advanced. Nice to, how are you? Hey, how have you been? So you change the level. You speak, you are not going to say for like, me too. It's like to say, dodói. Like, imagine me here. Oh, Michael, I was there, then something happened and I had a bruise and I dodói aqui. It's very strange to use a children vocabulary when you are talking to adults, important adults. So you have to understand how to use your language, like a novel. No, it's like all the things that are behind me and I'm using is because it's a formal place. So I have to adequate everything I'm talking. So there it was very challenging because they had to speak with different nationalities.
How many other high education courses you have taught? You mentioned foreign trade. What else?
Trade, journalism, computer engineering was very difficult because they had to understand terms about computer, but was interesting too because many of them were geeks like me, so it was very interesting to give classes to them.
Nice. Journalism, they have to pay a lot of attention in, for example, the lexical choice they do. For example, depending on the term, you can show like a political position, and you are supposed. It's not, I know, yeah, but they are supposed to be impartial when they are reporting something, and depending on the semantics of your text, there people say, you see, this person is this or that, and you know.
Yes, I used to say this to them. Well, it's very easy to write, but when you are in a conference like talking English in another country, you have to be the standard of the standard English because you cannot use anything different. People have to understand you. So it's one thing we do a lot, like teachers. Our English is a kind of fake English because we want you to understand us. So we will speak very slowly, using a lot of things to understand us. Igual a gente fala em português because we have this power. But when you are going to talk with people there in other countries, like, what? That's like, it's not so easy to understand.
I have this friend from Morocco. Man, it was very nice. The first time I talked to him, I could understand like 40% of everything he was saying, because he had a Moroccan accent and French accent, because his father was French, his mother was Moroccan. And I was all the time, okay, excuse me, what? Excuse me, what? After some time, it was fine. It was like automatic. So it's just a matter of how much contact you have with that specific structure. It was very interesting. But it was like this.
Yeah, we are not speaking English. We are negotiating meaning. This is the
thing. That's a nice term.
We try to negotiate meaning. So everything is different, you know. Like in Brazil, we tend to say like that, Mike, hey. So how do you say it? Everything changes there. So one thing I learned too is that don't expect people from another culture to have the same traits you have in your culture. That's why you keep saying, oh, they are very cold people. They don't talk with us. No, it's a different thing. It's a different background. The time is different. The speed is different. The context is different. I would give you an example for banks. Think about a bank.
Okay.
How is the bank in America, Mike? Do you remember the bank? How they receive the people there?
Like in a very fast and pragmatic way?
Yes, they receive each one of them in their room, you know. Oh, come on, Mike. Here, we have a reunion now. It's a private meeting. Here in Brazil, if you go to a bank and someone enter in a closed door and is there for 20 minutes, you say, wait, what are you doing inside there, man? I have to. So here in Brazil, everything is transparent. You have to see people working to understand. So do you know this is a different thing, but it happens. People are not they are not going to stay near you in the subway because they have a personal space, a different personal space.
Yeah.
We are talking about teachers. Some teachers in the past they enter in the classroom with smoke. Cigarette scent, they come
Mm.
closer to you. So you have to learn those things. How can I be? How can I talk to people without making those kinds of things? Those kinds of, oh, I'm too close to them. I'm trying to touch them all the time. So be in a public space without thinking they will be like here in Brazil. So never do that. Hey,
Man, I just had an epiphany, Humberto. I always sucked with physics. And maybe the reason was because my physics teacher, she was very rude and she smelled like cigarette. Maybe it was not that I'm dumb with physics. Maybe remember they study about the garbage smell.
yes, maybe it was a guy
Maybe it
saying,
was the smoke scent. So I can learn physics. Maybe
or too
there
much coffee, or too much coffee. You like
could be as well. Yeah, yeah, yes. Damn. There is one very good question here, Humberto, from Ricardo. How valid are comic books when it comes to teaching English to adults?
well, very valid, but you have to go to interesting comic books. For example, Ricardo, I don't know if we're talking about DC or Marvel comics. And one of the comics I showed them, they are get, oh my gosh, this is a comic. It's like Sandman. When I show
Oh,
Sandman to
nice.
them, or when I show Watchmen work, and I say, wow, have you seen American Gods about that? So when I show them this kind of comic books, they understand that's not a children thing. It's a different way to portray a story. So it's all about what we know about comics. So I could be this kind of teacher that, oh, Spider-Man. No, I know lots of things. I know all the levels of comics. So we have
Mm,
underground comics, we have the mainstream comics here,
yeah.
and I think an adult would be interested in things like Sandman and Watchmen is talking about because it's a grown up history. Do you agree with me, Ricardo?
Mm, yeah, and I have used The Walking Dead because the student loves zombie stories. And that was cool. And Conan too.
Conan,
Yeah,
X, Zorro.
yeah, the classics. Well, unfortunately, Umberto, we are running out of time.
Oh,
Yeah, it goes so.
at times we're running out of time.
Yeah, but I wanna wrap this up with I wanna extract more knowledge from you while we are here. What recommendation could you give based on the your background and everything you study? Adults that are struggling to learn English and they have this preconception like, oh, maybe English is not for me, or I'm talking about the hard nuts to crack. There, those that are really stubborn, like, oh no, it doesn't work for me. I cannot, and they want to translate all the time. And you know, how can they actually learn, or what recommendation could you give to them? Or maybe I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there are people that English is not for them, or
No, English is for everybody. Before I answer you, I like to say that as a coordinator, yeah, Mike is a coordinator too. Is our main work is to understand those students and help them. And Naira, who is our director here in Goiânia, and a big friend of mine, and Claudio, Mike too. In times we are like that. We are a big connected family because we like to meet each other and talk about studying our students in our school. So I think the different thing we do at times is that we listen to everybody and we share our thoughts. So I'm going to answer to you, student, who is there watching us and listening to us. You who is struggling and asking for yourself, do I know English? Do I know how to speak in English? I will try now. Let's say. Do I know how to speak English? See, nobody answered because you can't ask those kinds of questions. only the teacher will understand if you know or if you don't know. So the main thing I can tell you is that trust your teacher, please, and your coordinator, because he is the only person who knows where you are in English. And he is like you, he's like there. Oh, I want him to understand. So he's a friend of you. He's very interested in you, this challenge you are passing now. So I will teach you one thing for you. When you are there asking for the gods and the clowns, oh, I don't know if I know English, if I understand how to. If you ask your mother, is the worst because I don't know if your mother is speaking English. Your teacher is the one who understands the mechanism behind the book and where you should be. So let me give me example of lesson 11. Is it still the past one or the lesson 11?
Yeah, simple
So
past.
lesson 11, you are there like, oh my gosh, I don't understand those verbs. Ask your teacher. Teacher, I was good in that. What can I do to improve my English? And if you tend to evaluate yourself, go to the content of the book. In the first pages, you have the content of each lesson. There, you can ask punctually if you understand the verbs change, if you understand the t and d in the end of the word when you spoke, if you understand the beginning of the lesson, there you are going to have an answer. But if you make this general answer to the gods and the clouds, you are not going to have a good answer because nobody has this answer. The only person who can answer you if you understand English, if you are good in English, is your teacher, is the only person. So please trust the process and trust your teacher. He's the only one who can help you. And you have several teachers who can have different opinions. So stop. This is the difference between children and adults. Children doesn't really care if they are learning or not. They just
Just
go with
go.
it.
Yeah.
But the adult is like that. Well, I don't think this is good enough. Don't worry. Just make your lessons, ask your teacher. He's your friend, and if he tell you something, you should trust him because they know the theory, they know what they are doing there. They are professionals, aren't they? So I think this is the main thing I can tell you, and to reduce your stress levels, okay, and go to the classes, the speaking classes, the special classes, because English is not about to understand the words, it's about to live. So you have to go to the parties, to the different classes.
Nice. And focusing communication. Thank you so much, man. It was very nice talking to you. And eventually we can have an episode about Lord of the Rings. Okay. I'm just gonna drop
Nice.
the
Maybe we could talk about Star Wars 2 or House of the
yeah.
Dragons. I have some
Nice.
theories nice here.
Okay. I would love. I'm gonna let's do this. And
Okay.
guys, thank you so much for the questions for being here watching us. Don't forget to subscribe. This episode is gonna be on Spotify tomorrow, and hope to see you next week on our next episode of Talking Times. Bye bye.